Hello 3D printing friends. Today on the BV3D channel, we'll learn how to set up OctoPrint, the web-enabled print server for your 3D printer. I'm Brian, and you are watching BV3D. Hi, welcome back. This episode is sponsored by PCBWay, and I'll talk more about them in just a bit. Okay, so today we're setting up OctoPrint on a Raspberry Pi Model 4. What is OctoPrint? OctoPrint is Gina Häußge's free open-source web-enabled print server for FDM 3D printers. And we're going to do this using Guy Sheffer's OctoPi, which is a ready-made disk image complete with operating system that gets OctoPrint up and running on that Raspberry Pi with minimal work. With OctoPrint, you can control your 3D printer from a web browser, so you can drag and drop G-code files from your computer to the printer and start them printing. Plus, you can monitor the printer with a webcam connected to the Raspberry Pi, and you can even make time-lapse videos of your prints. Let's go over what you'll need to be able to do this. First, and most obviously, you'll need a Raspberry Pi. In particular, the 3B, 3B Plus, 4B, or 02. Those are the only Raspberry Pi models officially supported by OctoPrint. I'm using a Model 4B for this video. You'll also need a power supply for your Raspberry Pi. You'll need to download the Raspberry Pi Imager utility, and there's a link in the description. And you'll need a good Class 10 micro SD card. At a minimum, it should be 8 GB up to about 32 GB. You can use a larger card if you are sure it's supported by your particular Raspberry Pi. This is going to be the Raspberry Pi's boot disk, and it'll have the OctoPi disk image written to it by the Imager utility. You'll probably want a case for your Raspberry Pi as well. A lot of the starter kits come with them. If yours doesn't have one, you can buy them cheap on Amazon, or there are probably 100 different ones you could 3D print. Oh, and you'll need a USB cable to connect your Raspberry Pi to your 3D printer. Use a good quality cable. Crappy cables can cause complete catastrophe. I should probably stop for a moment and mention that as of this video's release date, Raspberry Pi units are still in extremely short supply. This supply shortage has resulted in scalpers buying up the few that make it to the retail market and then charging about 4 times the retail price for them. If you've already got one of the Raspberry Pi models I mentioned a couple of minutes ago and you want to dedicate it to this task, that's awesome. Now, there are a lot of other small single-board computers that are perfectly capable of running Linux and OctoPrint, and I'm working on a video about how to do that too. A suggestion, if I may, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss that video when it comes out. I'll show you how to get OctoPrint going on a $45 Orange Pi 3 instead of shelling out $150 or more for a Raspberry Pi. Okay, so having said all that, here's how to get OctoPi installed on a Raspberry Pi. Insert the micro SD card into a card reader on your computer. Use a USB card reader if your computer doesn't have a card slot on it. Open the Raspberry Pi Imager utility. Where it says Operating System, click the Choose OS button to display a list of operating systems and categories. Scroll down the list a bit and click Other Specific Purpose OS. Click 3D Printing. Click OctoPi, then click OctoPi Stable. Next, where it says Storage, click the Choose Storage button to display a list of connected storage media. Click to select your microSD card from the list. Before clicking the Right button, click that gear icon instead. This will allow us to preset a lot of options that, in some cases, used to be a pain to configure because you had to carefully edit text files and stuff. So let's go through the options. First, you have the option to set the network host name of the Raspberry Pi. I like to set this to the name of the printer the Pi is going to control, so I'll check the Set Host Name box and I'll set this to Ender3v2. Then, because I like being able to open an SSH connection to the Raspberry Pi, I'll check the box to Enable SSH. And I'll be using password authentication. Next, make sure the Set Username and Password box is checked. Set the username to Pi and set a password. This is important because OctoPi comes ready to go with a user named Pi and a default password of Raspberry. Since this is a well-known username and password combination, it's a good security practice to set the password to something else. Next, If you're not planning on connecting the Raspberry Pi to a wired Ethernet network, check the box to configure wireless LAN. Set the SSID field to the name of the Wi-Fi network you want the Pi to connect to. Set the password field to that Wi-Fi network's password. And set the wireless LAN country to your country code. For me, that's US. You can also check the box to set locale settings, and these should be preset to match your time zone and keyboard layout. That's it for the settings, so click the Save button. Now it's time to click the Write button. The imager will warn you that this process will completely erase the card, and if you're prompted for administrator credentials, provide them. Then sit back and watch as the imager utility writes the disk image to the card and then verifies that everything was written correctly. At the end of it all, the imager utility will eject the card, and then you can remove it from the card reader. This video is sponsored by PCBWay. PCBWay is known for making low-cost, high-quality printed circuit boards, but they also do CNC machining, 3D printing, sheet metal fabrication, and even injection molding. Using PCBWay is easy. Just upload your PCB files or 3D models, select from the wide range of materials, colors, and options, and place your order. They sent me a few samples, and I gotta say, these circuit board rulers and coasters are freaking amazing. And the clear resin prints of the PCBWay logo, these are 100% crystal clear. So whether you need PCBs, machining services, or even something printed in a specialty material your printer can't handle, PCBWay can do that for you. Check them out at PCBWay.com. There's a coupon code in the description, so be sure to check that out too. And now, back to the video. Now let's get the Raspberry Pi booted up from that card. With the Raspberry Pi unplugged from power, insert the microSD card into the card slot on the Pi. If you're going the Ethernet route, connect the Pi to your network with a network cable. Otherwise, it should automatically connect to your Wi-Fi network with the information we gave it a minute ago. And with your 3D printer turned off, connect your Pi to the printer with a good quality USB cable. Then, turn the printer on. Just for fun, I'm also going to connect a small HDMI monitor to my Pi. You don't have to do this, I just wanted you to see what happens on first boot. I'll connect power to the Pi, and you can see all this stuff that has to happen. And a lot of this only happens the very first time the Pi boots from a freshly imaged card. It's doing all those things we told it to do when we filled out that form in the imager. It's configuring the networking, it's changing the password on the Pi account, it's setting the Pi's name on the network, and it's expanding the file system so I can use the full amount of space on the card. And it actually reboots several times during this process. Eventually it calms down and stops at a login prompt. So be patient the first time you power up the Pi. The whole sequence can take up to 3 minutes. On the bright side, once it's done, and it'll boot up a lot faster the next time, and every time after that. But now it's ready, and we can head over to the computer, get into a web browser, and open up a connection to the Raspberry Pi. If your network supports Bonjour networking, you can connect to it using that host name you gave it earlier. Remember, I set this one to ender3v2.local with the imaging utility. If your network doesn't support Bonjour, you may have to dig around in your router's settings to see what IP address it gave the Pi and connect to that IP address in your browser. Bonjour networking works here, so I can go to http://ender3v2.local, and then we can go through OctoPrint's setup wizard. This is where we create an account in OctoPrint, tell OctoPrint about the printer, and stuff like that. We'll go through it real quick, and then we can upload a G-code file and print it. So the first screen is kind of a welcome screen, so click the Next button to continue. Then OctoPrint wants to know if we want to restore its configuration from a backup. We're not doing that, so click the Next button to continue. Now, OctoPrint needs to set up a user account. This is local to this particular OctoPrint installation. It's not a cloud account or anything like that, and it's separate and distinct from any account on the Raspberry Pi's operating system. This is just a username and password combination that you'll use to log into this specific OctoPrint setup. It prevents other people on your network from being able to interact with OctoPrint or control your printer. So, type in the username and password that you want to use, then click the Create Account button. OctoPrint creates that account and then immediately logs you in with it. If you like letting your web browser manage your passwords, you can let it save this one for you as well. Click the Next button to continue. The next step in the process is configuring a connectivity check. When this is enabled, it tells OctoPrint to make sure it can reach the internet. The reason OctoPrint does this is so it can skip things like update checks if it knows it can't get to the internet. That way it doesn't waste time or CPU cycles that could otherwise be dedicated to the act of printing. I'm using the values preset by OctoPrint. Click the test button to make sure the settings are correct and that OctoPrint is able to reach the internet. The actual button to enable the connectivity check is down at the bottom of the page, and you may need to scroll down to get to it. Since this is a useful feature, click the Enable Connectivity Check button to enable it. Then click the Next button to continue. Next up is enabling anonymous usage tracking in OctoPrint. This sends anonymized usage stats back to OctoPrint headquarters so they can track trends or see if a particular OctoPrint release is having issues out in the wild. I'm happy to do this, so I'll click the Enable Anonymous Usage Tracking button, but this is totally a personal preference, so enable or disable, whichever you want, and then click the Next button to continue. As OctoPrint has evolved over time, some older plugins written for it will no longer function correctly. To keep those from being installed and causing issues, OctoPrint maintains a list of plugins that are known to be problematic. It's a good idea to allow OctoPrint to actually use this list, so click the Enable Plugin Blacklist Processing button to turn that feature on. Then click the Next button to continue. We're in the home stretch and we're almost done with the configuration. This Set Up Your Printer Profile screen is where we tell OctoPrint about the printer it's going to be controlling. In the General tab, tell it the name of the printer and the model. Some people like to give their printers creative names like Meltomatic or whatever, but I'm going to be a non-creative creator here and just name this printer Ender 3v2. And I'll type that in the model field as well. In the Print Bed and Build Volume tab, this print bed is a rectangular type, not round. Its homing origin is in the lower left as viewed from above. It's a heated bed, it doesn't have a heated chamber, and its build volume is 220 millimeters on X, 220 millimeters on Y, and 250 millimeters on Z. In other words, set these to match the maximum X, Y, and Z values your printer can reach. Then, in the Axes tab, these values set the maximum speed that OctoPrint will use when you're manually controlling the printer. In all the years I've been using OctoPrint, I have never ever changed these, so I'll leave them set to these standard values. In the Hot End and Extruder tab, set these to match your printer. I generally just accept these values as well. And that's it for setting up the printer profile, so click the Next button to continue. This is the All Done screen with an important safety note. Don't trust your printer to not try to kill you. For the most part, 3D printers are just dumb robots. They're so dumb they can't even tell if they're on fire or not, so they'll just keep doing what they were told to do for as long as they're physically able to do it. Also, if you want to access your OctoPrint from outside your network, do it safely. Don't just make it available to the entire planet because it makes it convenient for you. And finally, if it turns out you like OctoPrint, consider financially supporting the project. I do via Patreon because I like it and I want it to continue to be developed. If you're able to help out, I'm sure Gina would appreciate it. Developing OctoPrint is her full-time job, and the only way she can do that and still pay the bills is with support from the 3D printing community. Okay, let's click the Finish button to finish. Since this is the first time we've started up this instance of OctoPrint, we'll need to tell it to connect to the printer. Leave the serial port set to auto and the baud rate set to auto. Check the box to save connection settings, and also check the box to auto connect on server startup, so OctoPrint will automatically connect to the printer when it starts. Then, click the Connect button to tell OctoPrint to connect to the printer. When it connects, it asks the printer about itself, and in this case, it detected that the Marlin firmware on the printer supports host action commands. That's a way for the printer to keep OctoPrint informed about certain events, like if you try to stop an OctoPrint-controlled print job from the printer's screen, or when the printer's filament runout sensor needs to let you know it's time to run out and get more. Unfortunately, while Marlin supports this Creality disabled the feature when they compiled Marlin, and that's what OctoPrint is letting us know. The only way to fix this is to compile Marlin with that feature enabled, and that's way beyond the scope of this video. So just click the info header to roll that up and out of the way. You can click the connection header to unroll it and take a look at the settings if you want. And the state info shows you the currently loaded G-code file along with the printing progress and stuff like that. Just for fun, I connected a not high quality webcam to the Raspberry Pi, so I have a basic ability to visually monitor the printer. I can also turn on time-lapse recording, either taking images at timed intervals or only taking images every time the printer moves the Z-axis up for the next layer. And in this big area here, you can see the printer's temperature graph for both the hot end and the bed. I previously sliced a MacGyver CaliDragon test print for the Ender 3 V2, so I can upload that just by dragging it into the browser window. If I had a micro SD card plugged into the printer, I could upload this file to the printer's card by dropping the file on the right side of the screen. And to upload to the storage on the Raspberry Pi, which is what I want to do, I can drop the file on the left side of the screen. And it just takes a second or two to send the file. Even though this is referred to as drag and drop printing, it works for other kinds of models as well. It's not limited to dragons. So with that file uploaded, click to select it from the list and OctoPrint will open it and display information about it in the state area. Then click the print button to start the print job. You'll see the temperature graphs start to respond as the G-code file instructs the nozzle and the bed to heat up. And once the printer is at operating temperature, it'll start printing the Dragon. OctoPrint will keep you informed about the progress of the job, showing you how long it's been running, how much time until it's done, the percentage complete, and stuff like that. Well, now the print is done. Here's the finished product. It's a fine little Dragon, and I think it printed well. And here's that time lapse that OctoPrint recorded. The quality of the webcam isn't the greatest, and there are some settings that could be tweaked to get a better image. It's not the worst time lapse ever, but there's a plugin you can install called OctoLapse that gives you a lot more control over the positioning of the print bed and the toolhead when it takes the pictures. In fact, there are a lot of plugins for OctoPrint to extend its functionality. Don't be afraid to install them and explore. You can always disable the ones you don't like. So that's how to get OctoPrint up and running on a Raspberry Pi. Big thanks to everyone who supports the channel, whether with channel memberships or using the links in the description. If you liked this episode, give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing so you don't miss future episodes. Well, 3D printing friends, that's about all the time we have for this episode, and now that we're at the end, let's go OctoPrint something cool.